Hi, I'm Stock Investor Davis. Welcome to the channel. We're going to take a deeper look at ASML stock today, focusing on its earnings per share and price to sales ratios, both currently and based on the guidance management has provided, which in this case will bring us to its next quarter ending March 31st, 2024, and its year ending December 31st, 2024. Then we'll close by applying our findings to its current technical chart. Before we get started, please tap that subscribe button, and if you find this video informative, give it a like. There are chapters below if you want to skip ahead to a specific section. Otherwise, if you have any questions or notes, let me know in the comments below. To begin, I have at the top ASML's current earnings per share for the trailing 12 months, totaling $21.52 per share. The quarterly earnings making up that figure are in the top right. Note that this is in USD as opposed to euros, and that I'm using a conversion rate of $1.08 per euro. This is the conversion rate I'm going to use going forward too. If it changes going forward, we will adjust. After making this conversion and applying this method to the company's past earnings and PE ratio results, I focused on its past 5 years and feel comfortable that a reasonable PE ratio range for this company is between 27 and 38 times its earnings, with an average of 33 times its earnings. With our range established, we then multiply those figures by its current earnings per share, which is that $21.52, giving us a fair price range of between $5.81 and $8.18. Based on the price today, it's trading at 41 times its earnings, appearing to be overvalued, favoring the seller side. Moving to the company's current price to sales ratio, we have at the top ASML's sales for the trailing 12 months, totaling $29.8 billion. The quarterly sales reported are in the top right. Again, as we go through this, these figures have been converted into USD at the exchange rate of $1.08 per euro. I then pulled the company's current shares outstanding of 393.4 million shares, dividing this figure by its sales to arrive at $75.79 in sales per share. After calculating this figure, I reviewed the company's past sales and price to sales ratio results, finding a reasonable trading range of between 7 and 11 times sales over the past 5 years, with an average of 9 times sales. Based on our current reasonable range and the current sales per share, we're able to calculate that a reasonable share price is between $5.31 and $8.34. With the current price around $8.90, it's trading closer to 12 times sales, appearing to be overpriced, favoring the seller side. Let's now look ahead at the forward guidance. Looking at management's Q1 2024 guidance, they have provided the following projections. Sales between 5 and 5.5 billion euros, a gross margin between 48 and 49%, with research and development costs of 1.07 billion euros, and SG&A costs of 300 million euros. For now, I'm going to use the midpoint for those two ranges provided, and I'm going to use the same exchange rate we used previously. With those considerations, we arrive at $5.7 billion in USD for revenue and $2.70 USD earnings per share for the upcoming quarter. Adding this projection for its upcoming quarter, we calculate a sales of $28.2 billion, net income of $7.4 billion, and earnings per share of $18.91 for its trailing 12 months. Assuming the shares outstanding will remain the same at 393.4 million. Using these updated figures, in combination with our previously stated PE ratio range of 27 to 38, we calculate a fair value price range between $5.10 and $7.18, resulting in the current price of $8.90 appearing to be way overpriced and heavily favoring the seller side. Pivoting to the Q1 2024 price to sales ratio based on management's guidance, we can see the top half, the shaded portion, is the same as the previous slide, so I'm going to focus on the bottom half. With management's guidance, we can calculate a future projection for sales per share of $71.80. Then multiplying this forward guidance by our reasonable price to sales range of 7 to 11 times sales, resulting in a fair value stock price between $503 and $790. The overall result being that the current price of $890 appearing to be overpriced and favoring the seller side. Let's now look ahead, considering management's full year guidance for 2024. They provide us with the following: similar net sales with a slightly lower gross margin than 2023, and its estimated tax rate to be between 16 and 17%. What I've done is use the same sales figures as in 2023, which is the 29.8 billion, used a 48.5% as its gross margin, as noted in its first quarter guidance, which is also slightly lower than it was in 2023, multiplied its projected expenses in Q1 by 4 for the full year, used the tax rate of 16.5%, which is the midpoint of guidance, and finally assumed the shares outstanding will remain the same, albeit I do expect that figure to decrease slightly. All that considered, we arrive at a projected earnings per share figure of $18.08, which, when we multiply it by the PE ratio range established of 27 to 38 times earnings, we calculate a fair value price range between $488 and $687, resulting in the price of $890 appearing to be overvalued, heavily favoring the seller side. Pivoting to the full year 2024 price to sales ratio based on management's guidance, we can see the top shaded portion is the same as the previous slide, so I'm focusing on the bottom half. With management's guidance, we can calculate a future projection for sales per share of $75.66, then multiplying this forward guidance by our reasonable price to sales range of 7 to 11 times sales, resulting in a fair value stock price between $530 and $832. The overall result being that the current price of $890 appears to be overpriced and favoring the seller side. As a summary for our earnings per share calculations, at the top we see where it currently stands today, and on the bottom we have our forecast based on management's guidance for its next quarter ending March 31st, 2024. Here we see on the top is where it currently stands today, and on the bottom we have our forecast based on management's guidance for the full year ending December 31st, 2024. Then, as a summary for our price to sales calculations, at the top we see where it currently stands today, and on the bottom we have our forecast based on management's guidance for its next quarter ending March 31st, 2024. Here we see on the top where it currently stands today, and on the bottom we have our forecast based on management's guidance for its full year ending December 31st, 2024. Finally, to wrap up by looking at the technical chart, I've added some boxes to highlight areas where, to me, it makes sense to either add to the position in green or take profits in red. This image shows all the valuations we discussed. Currently, the price is above all our indication boxes, even when projecting ahead a year, indicating to me a time to take some profits. Otherwise, technically, it's near the top of an uptrend beginning in July 2022, the top of the range being 871. It's also well above the top of the uptrend beginning in January 2019, the top of its range being 708. For now, I don't like the price, but let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.